has appeared at CES 2020 that it looks like there is another company trying to make a Nintendo Switch ripoff. This time, the Nintendo Switch ripoff is going to be coming to you from a company called Alienware. And you guys may actually be familiar with Alienware because Alienware is actually a company that is known to making gaming computers and things like that. I think they're also going to be making this thing alongside Dell. So Dell and Alienware have some kind of partnership on this brand new Nintendo Switch. And this is definitely not the first time we've seen a knockoff Nintendo Switch. You look at something last year back in December with the Nanica Switch, and the Nanica Switch was really trying to be a Nintendo Switch ripoff or a Nintendo Switch clone as well. However, the Nanica Switch was not actually a good product. It was pretty much a retro clone system that pretty much played old retro NES games that pretty much had the same style as the Nintendo Switch. It had detachable Joy-Cons. It also docked to a television. Overall, it was just pretty much a worse version of the Nintendo Switch. But now looking at 2020 and looking at CES 2020, it looks like everything's actually changing around because this one looks like it's supposed to be a very good addition to the Nintendo Switch. Basically, what we're going to have, if you look here in the video, you can see we do have a Nintendo Switch ripoff right here. It's supposedly supposed to be around 8 inches, so you can see this thing is very big. And I heard some people on the internet actually not liking the design of this thing because the bezels are very thick and very chunky. Obviously, the main difference between this and the original Switch, the one that actually docks, is the fact that this thing is extremely big. You can see that here in the video. It's 8 inches. So a lot of people don't like the fact that the original Switch or the main Switch that's $300 that docks is already a pretty big console, and it's not the most convenient thing to take around. It's not that big, but you can see here this thing is definitely a very big device. The nice thing about this device, you can see from the video right there, it is going to have detachable Joy-Cons. It's also going to have a kickstand. It's also going to have a grip where you can actually put the controllers. This thing is pretty much going to be dockable as well. So pretty much you can see they are taking a lot of inspiration pretty much from the Nintendo Switch that already exists on the market. However, you can clearly see in this video right here where this guy is actually using this thing, you can see that this thing is going to be running console quality games. Now this thing is not actually official as we speak right now. They haven't even started manufacturing this thing. This thing's pretty much like a prototype of this Nintendo Switch knockoff from Alienware. It's actually called, I think, something to do with UFO. So it's codenamed UFO, I do believe, or concept UFO for this device. And honestly, when it comes to Nintendo Switch knockoffs, I'm not necessarily against companies making Nintendo Switch knockoffs because I think there is something there, and I think this would actually be a little bit different than the current Nintendo Switch just because obviously it's going to have more power than the current Nintendo Switch that's currently on the market. They haven't actually said anything about pricing, availability, or anything like that when it comes to the specs and things like that. All we do know apparently from this article, if you look at this article, you can see that the Alienware UFO Switch knockoff is definitely going to be kind of pretty much, apparently they are using a Windows 10 based really cheap tablet, and then they're pretty much building on that. But right out the gate, you can clearly see that this tablet right here is definitely going to have way more horsepower than the current Nintendo Switch since it is playing console quality games. You can see from this video right here, if I bring it up to full screen, you can see that it's pretty much running a Windows 10 operating system, but that does make sense. The fan on the back of the system right there definitely looks like a very big fan. So my one question is, how noisy is this thing actually going to be in operation? Because I feel like for some reason this thing is going to be pretty noisy in operation just because the fan on the back is pretty big. But again, we are talking PC type games being played on the go. And another thing I want to know is as well, how heavy is this thing actually going to be when you actually hold this thing? Because again, this is much more bigger than the current Nintendo Switch, at least the mainline one, which is dockable for $300. And you can see that this thing is very massive. I don't know if I really like the design of it. I don't think I hate it, but I don't think I like it either. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I would take this design, but it necessarily wouldn't be the best design if you think about it. But overall, this is some pretty interesting stuff. I'm actually really curious to see if Nintendo is actually going to strike this company down, Alienware and Dell, for actually making this thing. I can actually see Nintendo striking them down, but then again, I can also see Nintendo not striking them down because they're like, well, it's trying to target a different market than the Nintendo Switch. And on top of that, apparently, since this is going to be a Windows-based PC that's pretty much playing games on the go, apparently it does look like this thing is going to be nowhere near what the Nintendo Switch is going to cost. So if you thought the base model was $300, apparently from what I'm hearing on the internet, this thing would be way more than $300. It would be like $500 to maybe $1,000 for this thing, since the horsepower is going to be nutty and everything like that. I also love the fact that Alienware, with this specific concept, is really trying to bring on the idea of RGB lights. I know a lot of people are a fan of red, green, and blue lights when it comes to especially PCs and gaming and things like that. And you can see the halos around the analog sticks, or the thumbsticks are colored and things like that, which is actually pretty cool. The one thing I am going to be very curious about as well, just looking at this device, it seems like it'd be almost a flawless device. I don't know if I would buy this device for myself, but the thing I'm very curious about is the battery life. I'm assuming the battery life can't be that good because, again, we are talking about PC games on the go, and those have to drain a lot of battery. If the current Nintendo Switch doesn't get all too much battery, I'm assuming this would even get worse battery. Of course, it will depend on a number of key different factors, like how well the processor is like optimized, how well the games actually run, what type of battery they're actually going to put in this beast. I love the fact that you can play this on the go, and also you can play this on a TV when you have this thing actually docked. The one thing I'm not too sure about as well when it actually comes to this device, I'm not too sure if this thing runs off a USB Type-C or anything like that, but this concept is definitely going to be a very interesting concept. Again, we did see this at CES 2020, and CES 2020 at the time of this filming is currently going on in Las Vegas, and it's actually very interesting because who knows if this thing is actually going to come to life, because a lot of times I feel like with these CES projects or these very weird concepts, they don't actually come to the market, or they come to the market and they don't do extremely well. So we'll have to wait to see when this comes to market, if it comes to market, to really see how well this would do in the market now that the Nintendo Switch, of course, is on the market, and a lot of people already own the Nintendo Switch. And then on top of that, of course, the make it or break it thing for this tablet, of course, would definitely be the fact that how much this thing is going to cost, because you do have to remember next gen consoles are on the horizon. We got the PS5, and then we also got the next Xbox, apparently Xbox or Xbox Series X. So it's going to be very interesting. And then you also do have to realize, I haven't talked about this yet on my channel, but we are going to be having apparently a Nintendo Switch Pro. Those rumors are still heating up, and they're talking about them this year, and I can definitely see a Nintendo Switch Pro. So it would be interesting if this UFO device from Alienware and Dell would actually come to the market, how well this thing would actually perform. Again, we don't know any specs on this thing. We don't know the processor it's running. We really don't know anything about this. We don't even know if it's coming to the market, because this is pretty much a prototype. But at least the good news is, unlike somebody out there, unlike Atari, at least we do have a good working prototype, and we can actually see this running for the first time. And we do see the Joy-Con-like concept. We do see it's pretty much just really trying to rip the Nintendo Switch off. And honestly, I'm not really a person that's going to knock a company for doing a Nintendo Switch knockoff, because taking someone's concept and making it a little bit different, or even better in some cases, is not necessarily a downside. I actually think that can actually be good for the market, and this would be an interesting thing if it actually came to the market. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.